morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chicago Board of Elections regular board meeting of June 23rd, 2020. If at any time during this call you need assistance, please press *0 for the operator. This call is being recorded. I would now like to turn the conference over to Marisel Hernandez, Chair of the Chicago Board of Elections. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Pursuant to Public Act 101-0640 and subsection E of Section 7 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, this meeting of the Board of Election Commissioners for the City of Chicago is hereby called to order with a quorum of commissioners and the public in attendance through remote participation due to the governor's issuance of a disaster declaration related to public health concerns. As the board's chair, I have determined that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of the public health disaster. All commissioners participating by audio conference for this meeting shall be considered present at the meeting for purposes of determining a quorum and participation in all proceedings. The next item on the agenda is a roll call. Commissioner Kresse, are you here?
Present. I am present for Commissioner Kresse.
Thank you. And Commissioner Swain, are you present?
Present.
Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of the agenda. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda at this time? Mr. Lasker?
Yes, sorry, Madam Chair, I would propose that we do postpone item 7A to a future meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any objection from the commissioners to the change?
No objection from Commissioner Kresse.
No objection, Commissioner Swain.
Okay, thank you. If that, then we'll proceed. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the special board meeting of March 10th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Swain.
Is there a second?
Seconded by Commissioner Kresse.
All those in favor?
Commissioner Kresse votes aye.
Commissioner Swain?
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Thank you. Minutes passed. The Executive Director's report is next on our agenda. Mr. Goff?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to my fellow board members. Wanted to give you a report on what we're doing for this upcoming election. First of all, I'm setting up a meeting with David Miles, Director of Operations for the building at 69 West Washington. We had a lot of poll watchers in the primary election. So with social distancing, we may need to spread out. So I'm looking for a location on the 22nd floor and other areas in the building. I found out that some some people that are stationed in this building will not be coming back. So we're trying to get as much space as possible, and I'd like to do it in the building. We're also going to use Block 37 for some items, and we will have our super site also. Another item I'd like to report on is Ms. Walls is here in the office now. For this upcoming election, we've gone over our personal protective equipment, our PPE supplies. We'll be ordering gloves, masks, face shields, hand sanitizers, plexiglass shields, voting booth privacy wings, disinfected cleaners, disinfected wipes, disinfected sprays, screen wipes for the computer, hand soap, paper towels, handheld thermometers, and disposable thermometers. These will have in every precinct and also have enough quantities in early voting. We want to make sure that all the staff is safe and the public also. So we'll be working on that. Other items that we're ordering for this upcoming election is 2 high-speed mail openers. We're predicting that we may get anywhere from 500,000 to 800,000 vote by mail ballots. We're getting 4 Kodak scanners. These scanners are for scanning the applications that we'll be mailing out and the ones that are being returned. We're getting 20 air purifiers in the locations where we're having staff working and where we're having poll watchers in those locations. We ordered additional Agilis mail ballot sorting solution that will be, we're going to hook it up to the one that we already have. It looks like the county is moving out of their Agilis room, and we will be taking over that Agilis room for this upcoming election only. We're looking at additional scanners, central scanners for absentee and vote by mail ballots. And something else that we're getting 70 drop boxes. These drop boxes will be for our early voting areas. And with those drop boxes, we're having time-stamp clocks. So when somebody comes to drop off their voted ballot, it'll be time-stamped with the location and the date and time that they're inserting that ballot. And every night we will be collecting those. So we're going to have a drop box in every early voting site at the timestamp. And we have additional security bags to have those ballots brought down. Another item is I would like everybody to know that early voting will not be 15 days, it'll be 20 days. We're looking for additional, we will be recruiting additional help at these early voting sites. There was talking about early voting sites for curbside voting. In some of the early voting sites, we cannot do curbside voting, so we're going to do curbside voting on election day. And we have those, we already have instructions in our judge's manual about curbside voting. We will expand on those for this upcoming. We are also looking at our poll watchers. We're going to redo our poll watchers, what instructions we're giving to the poll watchers on PPE equipment. We will, our early voting sites are not set at this time. We're reviewing all of our early voting sites and our precincts. For this upcoming election, looks like we're going to change about a half dozen polling places, early voting sites. Clinton Hurd is working on that, and hopefully we'll have something in, so we'll do a mailing to let everybody know where their new early voting site is. There's an article in the newspaper, it was on TV this morning, about Louisville, Kentucky, population of 600,000, will only have one polling place. That's not the city of Chicago. When everybody went to increase vote by mail, they eliminated precinct polling places. That was a serious mistake, especially when some communities have never voted by mail at all. So we will be opening up all of our polling places on election day also, and especially because I made that comment that we will have curbside voting at those locations. I'd like to get permission from my board members to sit down and meet with the different bar associations, Cook County Bar, the Hispanic Bar Association, Puerto Rican Bar Associations. What I'd like to do is get additional attorneys out on the street, and I'd like to choose from these different bar associations, like to meet with them and get basically a rainbow of everybody out on the street to help with any problem. Our election central in this area is going to be crowded. We're going to look to split it up and move it around, but to have people out on the street will be very helpful. Because of social distancing here in this building, you're going to have a problem. I'd like to get permission from my board members if I could meet with these different bar associations.
I think that's a great idea. Commissioners?
It's a fabulous idea. I think, I've been kind of promoting that. And, Chicago Bar is having a new executive director, Beth McMean. If you need, I've worked with her many times, so that'd be great. Plus, don't leave out the American Bar Association. In fact, I'll have an announcement about that in the near future along these same lines. So, yeah, I think it's a fabulous idea.
Commissioner, I've known almost every president of the different bar associations, so yes, we're not going to leave anybody out. But this is something that
of course you do, Lance. What am I thinking? Yeah.
But this is something that we need to have done for this upcoming election.
I think the key to it would be if they go through training, that we work with them to get continuing education credits for the training. Plus, I think looking at the average ages of our judges and such, trying to get working with like the young lawyer section at the CBA might be helpful, just to get some young blood on the street.
Yeah, plus each one of these bar associations do a newsletter, and I'd like to get our information in these newsletters out also.
Excellent.
Lance,
Yeah.
I have a quick, Mr. Swain, I have a question. What's going to be the relationship between these attorneys that you're reaching out to and the investigators?
They're going to be working together. Some of our investigators are just handling a problem where they can't find something, but if there's an actual legal question, we're going to team it up with an investigator and an attorney to go out and have those issues handled together.
So the investigators are going to be paired with the attorneys are going to be paired with our investigators to handle issues that pop up.
That's what we're looking at right now.
Okay. A lot of our investigators are off-duty police officers, is that right or no?
Yes, off-duty police officers and sheriff, so I'd like to team up with attorneys.
Okay, that's fine. Only point I would raise about that, Lance, is just, the days we live in are a lot more uncertain than we would say they were a few years ago. And there is a potential, a possibility, that you've seen it, that, police days off could be canceled. So if that is the case, we do need to have a backup plan for how we're going to handle that as we move forward.
Well, I'm hoping that the ones that are driving are retired people that we have.
Okay.
But I hear you loud and clear, but that's the reason why I'm looking for the different bar associations to give us attorneys so we can have out on the street.
I got you. Well, all I'm saying is that there needs to be a contingency plan should the police officers that and this is a broader question, but the police that serve us as off duties on election day as agents of the board, that we need to make sure that there's a contingency plan. Now, I appreciate the fact that you're airing attorneys with police officers. I think that's the appropriate thing to do, especially now. But I also would say that we need to have contingency plans should those police officers' days off be canceled.
That's why yes, we will have that, I promise you.
Okay.
Already working on that.
I have one other question about something else you mentioned, but if you're not done with your report, I'll let you go finish first.
Well, I have a related question on this, and the question is to Mr. Lasker, and what's the status of the CLE credits for training of these attorneys?
I did reach out and issued a request to the CLE board a while back and haven't received a response from them yet, so I will have to do it. It was sounding optimistic, though, because we do have a training program but this was for election judges, and so what Mr. Goff is speaking about here would be something different.
Right.
And I don't know that this would qualify for any CLE because it's not associated with any formal training program, at least as of yet. Now, it could just be that these attorneys would take the election judge training and then go out and ride with the investigators. So perhaps that could still work.
And especially since the training is online.
Yeah, I think we could use part of the judges training, but then also more specific training geared to what they would be doing that day. So if you could follow up and report to us regularly on, you know, what's happening there, because I think that would be very attractive to attorneys and well-deserved if they're going to put in this time. Okay? Mr. Goff, anything else?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to let you know, also, I'm having our community groups such as PUSH, NAACP, United States Hispanic Leadership Council. We will be meeting with them and putting together. I'm getting a lot of, in Chicago votes, I'm getting a lot of input from them, but I think we need to narrow it to what we need them to work on. So hopefully with Jim Allen's help, we're going to write up a proposal and send to these different groups.
Okay. Thank you.
The other item is we did send a letter to the county clerk's office, and our office sent a letter to Tom Dart's office about voting at the jail. It was a big success when we did it in person, but with the virus hitting the way it is, we are looking at turning it to more of an absentee, like we're vote by mail, similar to that in the jail. And we sent that letter to the sheriff. Adam may have to go to court to get permission for us to do it. He also has to go into court for us permission to keep early voting on election day open, the last day of early vote.
Okay.
Actually, Mr. Goff, the legislation does take care of that for us on early voting.
Oh, yeah.
That allows us to keep, yeah.
Thank you so much. The other item is we're going to work on our judge's manual. Audra did a real good job, but we have to add some things, especially about PPE. I've learned that a lot of people aren't taking off their latex gloves correctly. They don't know how to use the disposable wipes. So something that we're going to add into our judges training, I'm hoping. And the last thing I have, because I know I'm running out of time, is our vote by mail statistics. Today, Jennifer just reported that we have 66,763 vote by mail applications in the system now. I think that is a huge, huge number, and it really needs to be reported, say that it looks like people are really looking at vote by mail, and I think the notion that we may get more than 500,000 people voting by mail.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And that's all I have. Yes.
Well, Lance, I have a number of questions that we can go through them for me.
Yes.
Real quick. First of all, it's really the first one really for Adam. With regard to getting the continuing legal education for the attorneys, maybe it might behoove us to have a letter drafted and chair decides to send to the executive director and the board, the chair of the board that does that, to make sure that they clearly understand it's a high priority for us. Because if they haven't responded to you as of yet, they may not understand the gravity of the issue. One thought.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, that would help. We can expedite the request since training is going to be starting very soon.
Right, but just because you're an attorney does not mean you understand the gravity of the issue. Most people outside of elections, as you've learned, don't really understand the nuances of running elections in this kind of environment. So, or generally, but this kind of environment as well. So that's one thing. Second thing, Lance, when you talked about the different groups, I'll just make sure that as you're looking at the different groups, and including the Bar Association, and we're looking at those that represent the widest variety of people that we have, right? I know we have certain groups that we do look to help us, but I think it's important that we look at groups we've not looked at before. I'm encouraged by the work of Chicago Votes, but there may be some other groups that we want to reach out to and put onto our communication list that are not necessarily, maybe newer or not necessarily in the loop with our communication.
Commissioner, I didn't list all of them. We have a huge list of different community groups, so I will give you a list and show you what I'm looking at.
That'd be great. box that you're talking about, the drop off, is this something that's already been fabricated, or are we fabricating ourselves?
We are not. We're looking at ones that are already fabricated. You know, to fabricate 70 drop boxes would be very expensive because you have to have dies and plans. What we're doing is ones that have already been used in different states like California, Oregon, and other locations. So we're working on that right now. But something that we're adding to this is having the timestamp. So every envelope that goes into that ballot box will be time-stamped with the date, time, and location, which will be able to track who's doing what. So I think this is an added layer than most places don't have that we will have.
And so my question was about the timestamp. So is the timestamp something that's being that we're creating, that's adding to this box, or the manufacturer is integrating it into the box?
No, this is a timestamp that we're adding to it. It's not going to be locked into the box.
Okay. If you could send out to us or to me some specs on what this box looks like and what kind of boxes that can be used in other places, and kind of your thoughts around the timestamp.
We've already started working on that. I will get that to the board members. I need another week because there's a couple of new drop-off boxes that we want to look at. But the timestamp, we've already picked on one that's affordable, and it works very well for what we're doing. You know, our envelope that we're using for this upcoming election is going to be thicker than our normal envelope. But because we're having two ballots, you know, we're giving every voter two ballots. So, so this is something that we're taking into place. So I hope we should be in real good shape. But if you give me another couple of weeks, I think we'll be able to get you something.
That's fine. I just want to understand that because that's something new. I just want to understand what that looks like. Third, also with respect to the drop-off boxes, Ab, just one question for you. Are there other layers that we need to put into place with respect to chain of custody and detailing the chain of custody of those ballots? Because since most ballots have been, the last time this has happened before we get electronic communication, I guess, from remote sites. Are we doing anything with respect to that every day?
You mean in respect to the drop boxes?
In respect to
For
drop
vote by mail?
We layering any kind of procedures around chain of custody to make sure that we understand the controls of who talks the ballot, when they pick them up, where they're going, all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
absolutely, yeah. There's going to be documents, chain of custody documents that'll be signed off on by any and every board employee who opens the box. The law does require us to empty the box every night, and so we will be bringing all the ballots to a central storage location, and there will be chain of custody sign-offs associated with each of the transfer cases that's used. The boxes are required by law to have a lock on them that can only be accessed by board personnel. And so, the issuance of the keys will be monitored, the use of the keys by the person who picks them up and delivers them to the central storage location, and they'll be signed into the central storage location by employees. So yeah, that's all going to be very thoroughly documented.
And when they empty out the ballots from the lock boxes, they will be put in a secure bag with a lock to be delivered to our office.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Last question I have, with respect to vote by mail, and we talked about the numbers of vote by mail, I would encourage our office to really come up with a plan that widely disseminates information about vote by mail. Where I am concerned about vote by mail is that though the numbers may be strong, that there may be certain communities around the city that are less inclined to vote by mail. I think you went to that point, Lance. And I think we need to come up with a concerted effort to communicate via either public announcement, television stations, radio stations, whatever it may be, to communicate to people the efficacy of voting by mail so that all communities have had this in front of them before this election to make sure that it's being administered as fairly as possible.
And Commissioner Swain, we are going to do that, And that was one of the other reasons why I want to get community groups, communities in those areas to know their people, to get the word out.
I can appreciate that, but I think and that's one part of it, but I think there's something that needs to come from the board that goes out and disseminated widely, so that so that the message is coming from us and that they're amplifying the message at a different level.
Agreed. I totally agree, Commissioner.
Okay, Commissioner Swain, any other questions?
I'm done.
Okay,
Commissioner
we're gonna move
Kresse
this.
Can Commissioner Kresse ask a question?
Yes, we are under a deadline here. We have only about 15 more minutes to run through the agenda.
Okay, I'll be real quick. Okay, yeah, the timestamp, good idea. It's much like the lockbox that's outside the county board chambers for dropping off contracts, so that's good. The Dropbox, good to hear that there's going to be a lock on it so that during the evening it's locked up, nobody can access it. One thought with regards to space, since state buildings will be closed on election day, just sort of an overflow if we need it. There's that big auditorium at the Thompson Center. Maybe we should put a request in for that. And finally, as you know, Lance, retired police officers under state law are allowed to carry their badges, and maybe we should reach out to the Retired Officers Association just in case we need them if police are not allowed, or their leaves are taken away. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. And now we'll proceed with the Assistant Executive Director's report. Mr. Holliday?
Good morning, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners. Just participating in daily conference calls with Lance, myself, Adam, Jim, and Gary. Participating in a meeting with Hensley and 3X Data about a mailing of vote-by-mail ballots. Set up WebEx meeting with Ms. Walls and vendors and processing of bids for our upcoming mail canvas. Our POVA online registrations is at 16,706. Of that, 676 have requested vote-by-mail applications. I've been here with the staff for the last 2 weeks with the soft reopening. Our warehouse is scheduled to reopen on Monday, June 29th. ES&S will be there also to gather long files off the e-poll books. And that's all I have to report today.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we will go to Mr. Allen.
Very briefly, in the interest of time, all of our activities have been focused on online systems, mail piece designs, website updates, and translations for the launch of the online applications. We've had considerable success with the online applications. We're also updating forms to reflect changes in the law, such as the addition of the ability to fax or email a vote-by-mail application. And then beyond that, we're looking to expand now into the public service announcements, as well as news releases that are starting to go out in the other languages, as well as English, and other outreach, including food banks and possible partnering with restaurants that offer takeout and delivery.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay, if not, we'll proceed to old business, infrastructure projects and changes in election administration and electronic poll books and voting equipment. Is there, have we touched upon those as needed, or is there anything further that needs to be addressed?
Nothing further, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll proceed to legislation. Mr. Lasker?
Thank you, and I'll be brief. I know we're short on time. On the 16th of this month, just a few days ago, the governor did sign Senate Bill 1863, so now we have a public act. The board was standing ready for all of the things that needed to happen immediately upon that passage of the law, and also within 5 days, and we've accomplished all of that. So I'm just very pleased with how the board was ready to go. That's how we've accepted so many applications right now, and that's all I've got for the moment.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll proceed to the next item, which is new business, professional service agreements between the Board of Election Commissioners for the City of Chicago and the following individuals. The first one is a contract with Dean Fatikas, who will serve as the facilities contractor from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Mr. Fatikas will advise the board and its staff on locating, securing, and preparing vote center locations and, if needed, warehouse and storage needs, and to assist the board in planning, constructing, and moving into new warehouse facilities and related activities. The rate is at $65 per hour, capped at $90,000. Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Commissioner Kresse moves to approve.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Swain, second.
All those, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next item is a contract with Guillermo Bill Perez as the Hispanic community contractor and translator for the term of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Mr. Perez will assist and advise the board on issues related to the board's responsibilities under Section 203 of the Voting Rights Languages Assistance Act to provide voting information to members of the Spanish-speaking community in the city of Chicago. He will act as the board's liaison to the Hispanic Advisory Committee on issues relating to serving the needs of Spanish-speaking individuals and to expanding their opportunity to vote, and act as a representative of the board to the Hispanic media on matters of importance to Hispanic voters. Mr. Perez's rate is $60 an hour, capped at $125,000. Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the contract with Guillermo Bill Perez?
Commissioner Swain moves.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Kresse seconds.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Kresse votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. The next contract is with Gary Resizan, who would be a ballot specialist. And the term of this contract, again, is July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Mr. Resizan would serve as a ballot preparation specialist to the board, attend meetings between representatives of Dominion voting systems and the board to discuss ballot requirements and preparations, assist in the development of ballot layout for both the Insight and the Edge 2 Plus, including tracking and seeking resolution to ballot layout problems, such as the ability to add or remove candidate names at any time during the process through Election Day if so ordered by the courts. He would also supervise ballot quality control and print orders, including proofing and approving Insight ballots for printing, ballot quantity, military overseas absentee ballots to be mailed before each election. He would also be responsible for a final ballot layout presentation for the Insight for grace period voting and early voting. And finally, he would also be responsible for the preparation and circulation of ballot printing, bid specifications, and co-chair all bid conferences, and lastly, perform other duties as assigned by the executive director. Mr. Resizan's rate would be $75 an hour, capped at $135,000. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Kresse.
Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Swain.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye, say aye.
Commissioner Kresse votes aye.
Commissioner Swain?
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Motion passes and the contract is approved. The next contract is with Sarita Villarreal as a Hispanic community contractor and translator. Again, the term would be from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. In her capacity as Hispanic community contractor and translator, Ms. Villarreal would assist and advise the board on issues relating to the board's responsibilities under Section 203 of the Voting Rights Languages Assistance Act to provide voting information to members of the Spanish-speaking community in the city of Chicago. She would act as the board's liaison to the Hispanic Advisory Committee on issues relating to serving the needs of Spanish-speaking individuals and to expanding their opportunity to vote, and act as a representative of the board to the Hispanic media on matters of importance to Hispanic voters. Ms. Villarreal's rate is $45 per hour, capped at $90,000 during the term. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Swain.
Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Kresse.
It's been properly motioned and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Kresse votes aye.
Motion passes. Next contract is with Shobana Jory Verma in her capacity as Asian Indian Community Contractor and Translator. The term of this agreement is July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Ms. Verma would assist and advise the board on issues related to the board's responsibilities under Section 203 of the Voting Rights Languages Assistance Act to provide voting information to members of the Asian Indian community in the city of Chicago. She would act as the board's liaison to the Asian Indian community on issues related to serving the needs of Asian Indian voters and to expanding their opportunity to vote, and act as a representative of the board to the Asian Indian media on matters of importance to Asian Indian voters. Ms. Verma's rate would be at $60 per hour, capped at $125,000. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Kresse.
Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Swain.
Second by Mr. Swain. All those in favor, say aye.
Commissioner Kresse votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. The next item is a contract with Lasker Law, LLC, and the term of this agreement is July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. And Adam Lasker, who is Lasker Law, would serve as the board's general counsel and advise the board and the commissioners on legal matters, perform legal research, prepare memoranda, draft opinions, assist in administrative hearings and other related activities. He will act as hearing examiners for electoral board hearings and other administrative hearings conducted by the board as assigned, representatives to defend the board generally, and assist and advise the board's legal staff on legal matters as directed by the board, the commissioners, or the executive director. Mr. Lasker's rate is $250 per hour. Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Swain.
Is there a second?
Enthusiastically seconded by Commissioner Kresse.
All those in favor, say aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Kresse votes aye.
Thank you. Next is on the agenda is a legal report. Mr. Lasker?
Thank you. I think that because of the time constraints, I can skip the legal report and follow up with you all individually. There's not really any big news to report this time.
Okay, thank you. Next item is financial report. We have a balance sheet and voucher listing for the City of Chicago, 2020 appropriation, number 2002, dated June 23rd, 2020, in the amount of $947,867.03. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Kresse.
Is there a second?
So moved by Commissioner Swain.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Commissioner Kresse votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Okay. Motion passes. There is a second financial report, a balance sheet and voucher listing for the County of Cook, a 2020 2020 appropriation number 20-02, dated June 23rd, 2020, in the amount of $2,271,346.08. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Swain.
Is there a second?
Seconded by Commissioner Kresse.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Kresse votes aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Now we will proceed with public comment, and I just want to let the speakers know that we will be holding a 5-minute time limit due to the fact that we will have to go into executive session at before 11 a.m. Joanna?
Are you ready for
Hello?
public comment?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Your first comment is from Joyce Good. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Ms. Good. Hello, Ms. Good? Can you hear me? Now I can. Now we can. Go right ahead. Hello? I don't think we're hearing you.
My two comments, can you hear me now?
Yes.
My two comments are both by mail. The first one is there has been some figures that show that in the 2020 primary, there was a significant increase in rejection of mail-in ballots. And we don't know why. I don't know if we've done an analysis. But my suggestion is, and this kind of correlates with everything that you've been saying, is the Chicago Board of Elections should look into it and issue points for people to, can you hear me? Issue points for people to avoid whatever is causing the rejection. And it's especially important to work with voter groups like you have been working with, to let them know what has been causing a rejection of ballots so we can have a good valid and clean vote. We need all the votes that we can get. That's my first comment, and anything you have to say about it, I'd appreciate. And my second one is kind of a question on vote by mail. What about mail-in ballots that are not postmarked? Can you hear me? They're not postmarked. Often we have mail that is not postmarked, but they arrive in time. Will they be counted? If that hasn't been determined, I advise and hope the board will work on that one. And my final one is something that you brought up, that we have 2 ballots in an envelope, a thicker envelope. Will we have any problem actually putting it in a mailbox? Will there be any problem sending it through the regular mail? Thank you very much. Any comments you have would be appreciated. Thanks a million.
Can someone quickly respond to these?
Lasker, the state law does have issues, or not issues, but provisions for ballots that are received without a postmark. We use intelligent mail barcodes as authorized by statute, and also as a catch-all, the statutes allow for the use of the certification date by the voter. So when those vote-by-mail ballots arrive within the 14 days after the election without a postmark, as long as there is either data from the intelligent mail barcode or the certification from the voter, that will suffice. And double ballot issue has happened before in the past. It should not cause any problems in the postal service.
Okay. Can anybody speak to the rejection rate of mail-in ballots in the March primary very quickly? If not, we'll address it at the next meeting. Thank you, Ms. Hood. We have another public comment speaker.
The next comment is from Don Olson. Please go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Olson?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for all the efforts they're making. I don't envy you, your position of having to do all this extra work for this election, so thank you. And Commissioner Swain, thank you for all your questions. I think they were very thoughtful. My comment is on chain of custody for mail-in ballots for those drop-off boxes that are going to be in the early voting centers. Something I commented on previously was in the March primary, I felt it was inappropriate that at the end of the day the ballots were taken by an investigator, by him or herself, to the Board of Elections. I mean, the precedent for this is that 2 election judges, 1 Republican, 1 Democrat, should move ballots when ballots are moved like that. I felt it was inappropriate that a single person was given that responsibility. If you're continuing that policy, then I'm assuming that person would also be moving the ballots from the drop-off boxes located at the early voting centers. Again, I think it should be 2 people. I think ballots should be handled by judges, not by investigators. And then there's an additional concern that most of the investigators are either off-duty policemen or retired policemen. I think that's a very high percentage of the investigators. And in this climate of calling for police reform, to allow our ballots to be handled by the police in this way seems to me particularly inappropriate at this time, since they're, of course, all members of the Fraternal Order of Police, which is hardly a political organization. It would be as if we had union members of the teachers union or something handling our ballots, which would be inappropriate. I think that only election judges should be involved in this chain of custody to the Board of Elections. And then one final comment. Has there been any conversation about vote by mail being included in the 5% audit? If in this election, say we had 50% of our votes being mail-in, that would be a very high percentage of votes that would not be included in the 5% audit. It would really be a 2.5% audit. So I wondered if there's been any conversation about that. Okay, thank you, and good luck, everyone. Like I said, I don't envy you your task. There's a lot of extra work to do here, and it sounds like you're doing it. So thank you.
Thank you. And we will, again, is there a question or comment?
Your last
Someone
comment
gonna
comes
say?
from
Oh, I'm sorry, hold on one moment, Joanne. But we will address these questions at a subsequent meeting at this time. Next, Joanna?
Your next public comment is from Claire Tobin. Please go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. Yes, I really want to commend Lance on the excellent work that he's been doing on this huge project. In particular, the outreach to the attorneys at the bar associations, I think is going to be very helpful. And also the timestamps on the drop boxes or whatever. So my one question too was as to what equipment will be used to count the vote by mail ballots. Can you hear all this?
Yes.
There seems to be a lot of noise. So I'm particularly concerned because I don't know what went wrong in Georgia as yet, but it seems as though some of the Dominion equipment, was problematic. So I don't know if you have any feedback on that yet. Those are my 2 points. Thank you.
Mr. Goff, can you very briefly address this question of the equipment that will be out?
the equipment that we use is the same equipment that we used for this last election. It worked very well. We didn't have the same kind of issues as Georgia and other places. Georgia's problem was in the actually polling place where they added additional equipment and did not take in consideration of the voltage that the equipment took, and it blew out a lot of circuits. That's why it closed down a lot of polling places. The equipment has been certified by the state, and we've added additional ones. We had 7 units. We're adding 4 more so we can get all of those counted in time. But we will have watchers there, and we're looking at what other items we could do to show everybody that being as transparent as possible. So we're working on that right now. And that's why it was so important that we had watchers at the last election. We know what we need to do.
Okay, thank you. And I think that concludes our public comment. Is that correct, Joanna?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. And now, is there a motion to move into executive session at this time to discuss Mr. Lasker? What would be the exception?
This is the exception from Section 2C1 of the Open Meetings Act for the discussion of the appointment and employment of individuals.
Okay. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved by Commissioner Kresse.
Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Swain.
Okay. All those in favor?
Commissioner Kresse votes aye.
Commissioner Swain?
Commissioner Swain, both sides.
Okay. So all of our attendees at this meeting, please note that the board will now move into executive session for employment discussions with individuals that are scheduled to be completed no earlier than 4:45 p.m. No official action will be taken during the closed session, and there is no additional action to be taken on today's meeting agenda. Therefore, the board will return to this public portion of today's meeting no earlier than 4:45 p.m. for the sole and limited purpose of adjourning today's meeting. Thank you. At this point, we are in recess, and we will return on or after 4:45 p.m. That concludes this portion of the meeting for now. Thank you, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Board of Election Commissioners is now proceeding into closed session, and the public portion of this meeting will recess now until the board returns to open session at approximately 4:45 this afternoon. You are welcome to call in again to the public meeting at that time. We thank you for participating, and we ask that you disconnect your lines until 4:45 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the public session of the Chicago Board of Elections regular board meeting of June 23rd, 2020. The board will join this call after completion of the closed session portion of this meeting. If at any time during the call you require assistance, please press *0 for the operator. Also note that this call is being recorded. And I would like to turn the conference over to Marisel Hernandez, Chair of the Chicago Board of Election. Please go ahead, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We are back from executive session, and at this time, there is no further action that the board needs to take in open session. As a result, I would entertain a motion to adjourn to our next regularly scheduled board meeting on July 14th, 2020. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So go ahead, Jonathan.
No, it was Lance. I didn't know if we were talking about doing a special call of a meeting by the chair before that.
We could always do that if we want.
Okay.
We could always,
In that case, Commissioner Kresse is going to move that we adjourn to our regular meeting on July 14th at 10 a.m. or at the call of the chair.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Second by Commissioner Swain.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Commissioner Kresse votes aye. Say it again, Jonathan.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, the ayes have it, and we are now adjourned. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the board meeting of June 23rd, 2020 has adjourned. We thank you for participating and ask that you please disconnect your lines.